Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
This is Zosha West from Reina Z, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today it's an honor and a privilege to have the band Reign of Z, hail from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they will release their debut EP, Mirrors and Memoirs, on April 19th. They have also premiered their official music video for the single Reflections off that upcoming debut EP. I have the band on the line with me right now. If you don't care, please introduce yourselves, guys or gals.
I'm Zosha West. I am the front woman.
Hi, I'm Stephen Berg, bass player.
I'm Zach Cunningham, and I am one of the guitarists.
Let's jump right into this. Guys, how's it been working with O'Donnell Media Group so far?
Oh, Sean is great, man. She's worth every bit.
Yeah, she's really been fantastic. We actually got to meet her when we had gone to NAMM, and she is just as beautiful inside as she is outside, and she works so incredibly hard. We're so lucky to have her as part of our team.
I've done many interviews for her, and like you said, an awesome person, really, really great down-to-earth person. Thankfully and luckily, there's still good PR people that are out there fighting for the independent ones to get their stuff out there, so kudos to her and everybody else that's doing it right now.
Absolutely. She really does fight for the little guys. For sure.
So I want to jump into this right quick. Each song was written at different ages in your life, Sosha. So from experiences from 8, 16, 24 now to the present, I want to go back and ask you about, like, when you see your writing from at an early age, what did you want to change? How did you want to interpret that song a different way? And, to now to interpret it into a song.
Sure, absolutely. So obviously as you're younger, your mind isn't as formulated as the present day, if you will. And, when you're 8 years old writing, you don't really know how to convey and explain all of your feelings. So everything's very blunt, if you will, where, as of right now, I can use language in a more eloquent, beautiful way to describe things. So I think with writing this EP and having Steve sit down and help me kind of go through my archives, if you will, and you should totally see this book that I pulled it from. It looks like it's been through war. But it's definitely been very cool to sit down with somebody and kind of have these big emotions when you're a child and kind of rework them to a way that it's going to make sense to the audience and create a song, as opposed to being like, I hate you and you're this and you're that. You can make it a more insightful, thoughtful way.
Yeah, especially when you go back and look at things like that to where your mind frame was then, and then to take it to another level to now, like you said, to interpret your own words differently now to it as well.
Absolutely. Where now, I like to write a lot with a thesaurus, which sometimes gets me into trouble because my biggest downfall as a songwriter is I'm very wordy because I have all these emotions and I don't know how to contain them. So that's the beauty of, having Steve, our producer, and having Berg and Zach, because they're always like, it's so wordy, and I'm like, I don't know how to contain myself. So it's somebody reel me in.
Are you guys shocked at the support you got on the Indiegogo campaign for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And then all these people would, that believe in us, just to say, yes, you guys go do this. And right now we're sitting on a bunch of pre-orders that we're sending out this week for them. So hopefully they enjoy the EPs once they help make us get there to make it for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting when you launch these things because we actually had some negative feedback from people in a way of saying, I can't believe you're asking for money. But Zach, and I'll let him touch on this, put it beautifully, is like, hey, you're not really giving us money and not getting anything. You're actually getting a pre-order, and I'll let him elaborate a little bit more on that.
I think the biggest thing that's so sketchy about it is when you're a smaller band like we are, people don't have that kind of confidence in putting money forth for an Indiegogo campaign, so they're going to be skeptical. It's different when these more established artists, run Indiegogo campaigns. Like I believe Papa Roach has done one, but I think they did it on like Pledge Music, and I could have my wires crossed, but I know a number of bands have done it. And, it's a little bit different when they do it because, they've got obviously the fan base and they obviously have like the resume and the work history. So, people are very quick to just kind of view it as a pre-order. And whereas with us being a smaller band, they kind of look at it as like, oh, these guys just want donations. But I mean, all in all, we're offering the same thing that these bigger artists are offering. It's just we currently have a smaller audience.
That right there kills me when people do that because you have to do it. And like you said, there's other bands that are doing it out there as well. But I feel that bands, that's okay. I think that's okay. Things have changed these days prior to what it was, say, 20, 25 years ago when, oh, well, here's a record label. They're going to sign us and they're going to record our album for us. Things have changed, folks. This is the day and age that we live in, and it happens. And I have no problem with bands doing this because the bands give back. You get like a signed CD, signed shirt, drum head, guitar. I mean, phone calls. I mean, it's all out there.
Well, and we're definitely stepping into newer territory for us, and for people to kind of invest that money into us and their faith into us, we definitely wanted to return that in a big way. So,
sure,
with us. Indiegogo campaign, we wanted to come out with it sounding like what we were trying to aspire to be in terms of being on level with these bigger artists that are doing these. So we wanted to make sure that, when people did this, that we were going to really give them their return on their investment. So if we do this again, people aren't going to have any qualms or have any mystery on what they're going to be getting out of it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys have released the official music video single for Reflections. Was it hard to choose between the current set of songs on this EP, which one would be the first single and video? And what did you want that first song to say for Reign of Z for the ones who have not heard your music as of yet?
Well, oh my goodness. Well, I am obviously emotionally attached to them all. So, because like I said, they're different chapters of my life in which different chapters bring different feelings, if you will. But we really looked to our radio curator and Shauna and Tim, our artist development guy, and our producer to help pick, because not only do we want something that's going to resonate with people, we want something that is obviously going to be pleasing to the ears, if you will, for people to listen to. So it was hard, but I'm glad that we went with what we went with, because it's new enough in my life that I can really connect to it, but it's far away that I can kind of go through the journey and go through the emotions and just leave it there, if that makes any sense.
What do you hope everyone takes away from this new single, or message you hope they hear while listening to it, or just any of Reign of Z's music in general, guys?
I just hope, honestly, people can take comfort in it. I mean, unfortunately, with my tiny little life on Earth, I've experienced a lot, and I just hope that, people who listen to it, this is all real. This isn't like I sat down with a producer and wrote something vapid. This is stuff that's really, really genuine that I had gone through, that I hope if anybody's going through it, I don't wish that for them, but if they are, they can take some solace in it and know that, you can come out on the other side and you can be okay, essentially.
My personal thing is that, with Reign of Z, this kind of all centers around, Zosha's vision, and I don't really mind being kind of like a support in that kind of cog. I mean, for me personally, it's just being able to go out and just kind of, and, just push this vision and push this story, because, without Z, we don't really have a story. Mm-hmm. So it kind of all just centers around her.
Tom Flynn directed this video for Reflections. How was working with him on this, guys?
Oh, working with Tom was amazing. I've never seen a director shoot an entire video while riding a hover round. I mean, the man's got skills. I mean, the video turned out really well. I mean, he had really good vision on what he wanted out of this video. I mean, we corresponded with each other through email. We had everything planned out, and I really think everything turned out really well in that video.
We were on a call with him, and his mind was working as we were discussing it. He was already creating a storyboard in his head. It was great.
That's awesome. That's really cool, especially when you can operate a hover round and get around everywhere you want to. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like I was like waiting for him to break his back, but it really turned out well.
We actually had an actor in the music video originally. There was actually a segment where there was a little bit more story involved than band performance, and just the vibe of the scenery was just so different. And I can't really go completely into Tom's mind on why he chose what he chose, but he was just like, the vibe just seemed so off. He was like, so I had to make the cut to edit that stuff out. So it ended up being a lot more band performance and some visual spectacle.
Are there any songs standing out more to you guys than any right now possible on this current EP? I mean, I know it must change every time you listen to it. I know you guys are so attached to it, but do you have any that stick out for you?
I think Reflections is probably my favorite track off the new EP. All of them are great songs, but that one just gives a good representation of the band. I mean, from her vocals to the performance of the band, I think it just kind of encompasses Reign of Z. I think it gives the best representation.
For me, it's interesting. Like, I always have like this vibe, and I don't know if it's just like the way that I hear things or however it might be, but like sometimes when I listen to an album and like there's like that big single that's off the CD, it almost feels like it's just produced differently. And it doesn't mean like it's necessarily intentional or anything, but it just kind of has like this sweet spot that just like really grabs you, and like it just stands out for some reason outside of the other tracks that are being offered. So I mean, I think Reflections really is like, at least off of the CD, it's very much like a standout track. Like, we didn't really go in like already having something in mind that it was going to be like the single or whatever. It just kind of ended up happening where it's just like there was like, I guess, like a little bit of magic that went with it. So I mean, aside from Reflections, I would definitely say Innocence, just because Innocence has some really heavy lyrics that can really paint an uncomfortable picture.
No, Dysmorphia is just a fun song to play live, but for guitar work.
Yeah.
I would definitely have to agree with Zach. Like, Reflections and Innocence, for me, hands down, those are probably the most two pivotal events in my life, but also the music just entangles that and describes it perfectly.
Who did the artwork or cover work for the EP?
That was All for Band. It's a website overseas. They have a team of artists, and they kind of we fed them a vision of like what we were thinking collectively on what we wanted to represent, and I believe they came out and produced it very well.
Mirrors and Memoirs was produced by Steve Sobchak. Actually worked with Ice Nine Kills. How was working with him on this?
It was really cool working with Steve and Justin. They are such a great creative team. Steve's hand, and this was more so working with Z on like the melodies and some of her lyrics and really honing in on her strengths and getting her ready. It was funny because when like the instrumentals had been mostly laid down and she was going to be going in to do vocals, I think it was actually for Reflections, he sent her an email with like her scratch track that she did in his studio with a message underneath of it that says, "Don't suck."
God. Jeez.
So, words of encouragement.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. Don't suck. Oh my God. I just have to say, like, I wish we lived closer, because we would probably like force ourselves to like hang out with them all the time, because I really feel like they've become not only like our nurturers and our visionaries, but they've become our friends. And, it's just been so nice to work with people that understand what you're trying to do and just shape you and make you grow as an artist. And Steve definitely like pushed me, and it was really nice to work with him one-on-one. And I understand why Ice Nine Kills album is doing so well, because he's truly like very innovative.
I mean, like, it's a fun time. To really pull everything together, how it came together, and it was a really good week living in a studio.
Yeah.
roughing it, I guess. I guess that's roughing it in the music industry.
So did Steve bring out anything out of you guys that no one else has, possibly when working on an album?
As far as like I said with Steve, I mean, I think he pulled a lot out of Zoe, which of course she can elaborate more on. But in terms of like the instrumentals, like working with Justin, he really helped us streamline like the songwriting process and the things that we should really be striving for when we're doing something, you know, cutting away the fat and kind of keeping the elements that are really catching people, and to kind of make it but make it so when we're writing that things are balanced out and people are having standout moments and they're not trying to stand out the entire track, and just to really make things cohesive. So he's been a great guide for that.
Yeah, it's definitely different going from, you know, writing your own stuff and, you know, arranging it and everything, and going and working with a sound engineer that you pay for time for, as opposed to going and working with guys who are, you know, want to make a better product with you that's, you know, marketable and easily digestible for the public. And really, just like Zach said, it helps streamline our process and just get a better vision on how to write and move into the future with Raina Z.
Yeah, and he was he's such a whiz behind the console, like working with like the production side of it with the electronics and like all the like the little gizmos and stuff. Like the really cool like last chorus of Reflections where she has that very techno-y kind of deal. He just took the main vocal line that she sang, he just started throwing like some effects on it and started chopping it up. It was just like right there, just like watching that happen. Like as you're sitting there, it was just like crazy. It's like, where did this guy pull this stuff from? So it's a lot of fun working with him. We can't wait to go back.
Yeah, I think Steve definitely like pushed me to be a better songwriter and a better lyricist. He said something very like poignant to me where he said, always write your lyrics like you can tattoo them on your body. And I thought that was so incredibly important. And now like moving into the next chapter of wherever our music takes us, that's going to be definitely imprinted on my mind for sure.
How much growth musically have you seen this band and yourselves go through up to the release of this current EP? Or has it just been more of a personal growth for each of you guys involved in this?
I think for me, it's been more so personal growth. You know, musically, this stuff is very, very much what kind of like my wheelhouse was, working with kind of like the down-tuned riffs and stuff like that. I came from like a background of like growing up with like Breaking Benjamin and Chevelle. Like I really started to come into music right when like the new metal scene and everything like that was really taking off. So this hasn't really been so much about a musical growth for me, as it's been just kind of like the process of getting there and the things that I've learned from being in the studio with Steve and Justin, and just like the travels and stuff that we had. Like, you know, I'd never been to NAMM or you know, never would have played Warped Tour, you know, had I not been in this band, or even played like, you know, the Whiskey out in LA. Like I'd never been out to LA until I got into this band and had met Zosha. So it's this project has been more so about personal growth for me.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think for me it's both. I definitely feel that I'm evolving as a musician, but I do understand that I still have a long trek ahead of me, because I personally think it's imperative to always continue to grow, and when you stop growing is when you go stagnant. So I'm really excited to forge ahead and, you know, hopefully become better. As far as personal growth, absolutely. Like this EP was completely cathartic. Like I've had so much anger and hatred and resentment towards anything and anyone in my life, and this has kind of taught me to soften and be kinder, and to be able to, you know, just be vulnerable, which is very difficult for me. So it's definitely a two-part series for me.
Well, you know, I sit here and think about it because myself and Nick and Steve, who are not on this call, started playing music about 15 years ago together, and started in a like death grindcore crazy metal band, and traveled all around. And, you know, it was a good time to see how we evolved as musicians over time, to working into something as Raina Z. Really just, you know, comes full circle to like the how it's received, and just, you know, just we never stop as musicians. But personally, it's been great to just the business side of everything, having the reception that we've had, and we hope to continue to grow as a group and personally, you know. So
I just want to say this before I forget this. I listened to Whispers in the Walls. I absolutely love that song by you guys. That song is it's heavy. It's badass. I like it. It fits with everything right now. I wanted to say that before I forget about it because I knew I would.
No, we really appreciate that. That's our guerrilla track.
Yeah, the guitars, the heaviness of that song, man, is just fuck yeah. That's all I need to say.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we go back and we listen to it. And I'm like, I'd love to go just like just redo it with the songs that we have now. And just work it in because that song is so fun to play, and it's and people really like it, and it also speaks volumes for what the lyric content of what Zos wrote the song about. And I just love to have it updated, because that's what happens whenever you work with the sound engineer. Yeah, sorry.
Unfortunately, we won't say, of course, name names. We just didn't have.
No, we won't name names.
He was very much like collect the paycheck, press record, and he just didn't really, give a lot of input, and there was other stuff that went with it, but it was just disappointing.
That is, and that could really just kill a band. I mean, they could just be like, fuck it, I'm done with this shit.
Right.
He should have been worried about letting that song out because that's his name on that fucking track. And yours too. It's like, hey, I produced this. And it's like, well, do you really want to go produce with him again? No.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't think that's where his mind was, or maybe that our bar was set a little bit higher than his was. It's really hard to say.
Jeez, that's unfortunate, but it happens all the time. Sadly, it sucks for sure. But I wanted to get that in there because I do like Whispers in the Walls. That's a pretty badass track for sure.
Thank you.
Do you guys like to do anything differently during the writing and recording process to help keep your minds fresh and open, to not let it get boring, not let it get stale? Do you do anything to help you to keep your minds fresh and open, possibly?
Yeah, a set of boxing gloves. No, I'm joking.
I mean, for me, like, I personally like to watch a lot of horror movies and work out. I actually don't listen to music during the writing process because I don't want anything to get in my brain, if that makes any sense. So I just watch a lot of things, and like a lot of movies inspire me. It's actually funny because every time Zach and I go to the movies and we'll watch a horror movie, he's not a big fan of horror movies, but I'll be sitting there watching it. He's like, I know that your gears are clicking. And I'm like, yes, they are.
I love horror movies. They're the best thing ever.
I just saw Pet Cemetery last night.
Really? How was
really
it?
Bored. I felt bad. He was bored. I thought he was going to fall asleep.
I was very bored.
I could tell he wanted to go.
How was the movie? How was the movie? Was it any good?
It was all right, but I mean, it's Pet Cemetery. It's a remake, so you know what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, sure.
The original.
Sure.
For me, horror movies, I was just never really super into them because they're very predictable to me. Like, they all kind of use the same. I mean, I guess you could really say
Meanwhile, you jump through all of them.
Wow.
Right.
We know you're full of.
No, there was actually some movies that I've watched recently that I really, really liked. I liked Hereditary.
That's a good one.
The Nun.
Yes.
And the new version of It was really, really good. So, I mean, I'm definitely not completely adverse to them, but to me, like, I get captured more by a story than, like just jumping constantly. So, like that's kind of what makes it worthwhile for me.
He does jump constantly, and Berg was jumping constantly. I sit through horror movies like probably a serial killer. I'm very unaffected.
Right. which makes it even more uncomfortable to go to the movies with her. So.
He just trolls you.
I do. I just troll you the whole time. I'm like, are you scared?
She's like, are you scared? Welcome to my brain.
Yeah, seriously though.
I actually
I walk through haunted houses and like I don't get scared. It's very unfortunate.
I actually bought Friday the 13th yesterday for Xbox One.
Did you watch it yet?
No, it's actually the game. It's the game you can play.
Oh yeah, where you can play as Jason Voorhees and there's 5 other campers. And you got it. Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I just play offline because I'm not like an online gamer. I can't stand that shit. So
yeah,
I just play as Jason, go around killing people.
That's good. I like that.
I think we found a video game that Z can get into.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd be totally into that.
It was like $4. It's a full. I mean, originally when it came out, it was like $50, and now it's like $4. I was like, hell yeah, I'll take it.
That must have not sold too well.
It didn't. It didn't. Trust me. There was a lot of, when it first came out, there was a lot of glitches and things like that. Especially like when you're trying to get away from Jason and you're in a little canoe going across the water and he pops up in the boat with you. No, that's not right. It's glitching.
No, I'm rowing.
Yeah. But I like it. I mean, it's a cool game. As far as I was playing yesterday, I didn't see no glitches. But, you know, it happens.
Yeah. You know, and there's nothing fun. There's nothing funner than playing Mortal Kombat. You know, it's like, no, wow, they found new innovative ways to kill people. Okay, I'm down with this. Okay, that guy's spleen looks like. All right.
So what can fans expect at a show from Reign of Z? What are they going to get when they come and see you guys live?
I don't know. She does whatever she wants.
I know they get so mad at me because I never tell them what I'm doing.
I think that's one thing that we're going to definitely discuss as it gets closer to the show. I'm thinking about going to like IKEA and grabbing some like different kinds of lights and incorporating some different things for our shows to kind of make it pop a little bit more.
You're going to buy strobe lights. I'm not pulling your tongue out of your mouth. You swallow it.
No, I'm not messing with strobe lights. Strobe lights are kind of like anyways, like even if I didn't have to worry about that shit.
You have epilepsy. I mean, like I'll rig one in.
I think
about light strips and stuff like that.
I think with our live show, I mean, for me, it just depends on my mood. So, yeah, sometimes I like to climb on things. Sometimes I throw myself on the floor. Sometimes I climb on Burger Zach. I mean, sometimes I'll jump out of the rafters. I don't know. It depends on how I feel that day.
It's very interesting. She very much is like a different entity when she gets on stage. Like it's very like, I mean, Miss Theater Major definitely
Here we go.
encompasses. It definitely encompasses that role. Like I would just go as far as to say that she is kind of like just an entity on stage. Call her the entity. So that's what we'll do.
Which entity are you this evening?
I'm this entity. I'm totally like scrubbing it today. Like I'm really glad that I'm not seeing you in person because when I am not on stage, I like to look homeless. It is so much work to get into all that. So I really enjoy being in jeans and a hoodie.
Yeah.
Just like somebody, we went over to see somebody the other day, and they're like, she walked in, and the guy goes, "What? No leather?"
I was like, "No, this is my off day." No, take it for what it is.
We're living in the digital era of recording albums to get music out quicker, and now we've got social media to reach out to more folks who have not got to hear of you guys as of yet. Do you like this that we're in right now of this digital era?
No. Can I just be honest?
Yeah.
Well, that's just me. I just think, I don't know. Personally, I think social media is just it's not real. And what I mean by that is you can be whoever you want to be online. For instance, case in point, a lot of people have a perception that I don't work a job. And I actually had a couple supporters message me and be like, "Oh, it must be nice to not work and be in your fancy house all day." And I'm like, I live with my mother. I am a touring musician and I work 2 jobs, but thank you. And I just think a lot of times with the way that this industry is, yes, it's nice because everything's instantaneous, but at the same time, it creates worlds that aren't real. Like I know so many people in our industry who are bigger than us that just live these very double lives that just aren't real. And I just feel like that is such an injustice to consumers and people, because the whole point around rock and metal is to write things that are real. And when you're like, "I'm having the best day of my life, here are my Gucci sunglasses," and you're like, you know, that, I mean, yeah, but my aunt bought these for me. So that, but once again, I didn't buy them. This was a present. But I mean, like, it's just not, just be real. Like, I try very hard to be real with our support base and just say, like, I work 2 jobs, you know, we tour, you know, I live with my mom. Like, it's not glamorous. And I know a lot of times they're like, "Well, don't say that, just talk about," and like, it's just some crap. Like, people want to know that you can relate to them. That's what our genre is based on. Okay, that was my little tangent. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, in terms of marketing, it's very much a catch like 22 or a double-edged sword would probably be like a better way to put it, you know, with social media, because like, you know, you can dump money into Facebook and and everything like that, and it gives you a little bit more of a reach, but you got to really invest like the dollars into it to really make it go somewhere. And it's kind of getting to the point now, especially with not just like marketing, but the music in general. It's just kind of like everything old is new again. Like we were sitting there in the studio and they were like, yeah, like, we really think some electronic elements would be cool. EDM is kind of becoming like a big part of like the mainstream, and like we want to incorporate some electronics in your music. And I was like, okay, so it's the 80s. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Because that's just what it kind of feels like. We're kind of making the old new again, and like with marketing and stuff like that. Facebook was for a while was a great platform for musicians, and now they're making the scope more and more limited, and you have to invest more money into it to really get some reach. So now it's kind of going back to the old guerrilla style, where you print out flyers and you staple them to telephone poles and you hang them in coffee shops and put shit under people's windshield wipers and stuff, and like that's kind of working out better than the digital age has recently.
Well, if you can blend those two styles, you really have a chance of capturing the most out of all the marketing. But, with the digital age also comes the attention span. People don't have an attention span anymore because everything is constantly fed to them. And as a musician, you have to feed the machine all the day.
Yeah.
New marketing campaigns, new merch, just attention grabs, clickbait, all that. And everything's based off of not how well you play, not how well of a show you put on, how many likes you have, how much the analytics rule more than just if your show's a good time and people enjoy it, as they look at how many Facebook likes you have. And it's like, okay, it is what it is, but
And you don't have personal connections. Like, I really try to pride myself on connecting with people who message me or at shows. I always try to take time to talk to every single person, and I really make that a thing. And in the digital age, you just can't. It's like somebody likes your picture and comments, and I mean, that's cool and everything, but that's not a human connection. I think that's what we're lacking.
Exactly.
I think if
exactly.
media went down tomorrow, the music industry would recover.
I do my show. It's a podcast / radio. I do it from my home. I take care of my mother, so
Aww.
I'm like you, Zosha. I stay with my mom. I take care of her. She's my number one priority. I told my dad.
Yeah.
I told my dad and my grandpa before they passed away that I'd take care of her because they asked me to. So
absolutely, and that's so important, and that's a real personal connection that you have. And that's more than any of this digital crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of this, I mean, I help my family run a chocolate factory that's been in my family for 99 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
so if you like chocolate, hit Berg up.
But the thing is, what really, like, one day a customer would come in and just carried a conversation with him. At the end of it, the guy just thanked me. Because people just don't have conversations anymore. It's the constant glued to the blue screen, I mean, I honestly believe that the art of the conversation is slowly dying.
Yeah.
To just read body language, and that now everything is little 4-second blurbs over a screen that like where's the personal connection? How do you develop a friendship? How do you get bonds with people over the fact of all this if you just talk to them in, like I said, little blurbs? And it's just, it's ridiculous. My friends all hate it because I call them up and make them talk on the phone.
Oh, trust me, Zach and Berg always sweat because they never know what I'm going to say to people.
Oh, God.
So.
Oh, God.
I'm the exact same way, though.
You got to keep people on their toes, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just think it's so incredibly important, especially in music, because music is what connects you to so many things. And I just watch all these like artists and their stories and stuff. It's just, none of it's just, I'm not calling the artists fake. I want to be very clear. I'm not discrediting what they're doing. I just specifically have a different approach where I want to connect with people who listen to our music, because that's what music is. It's a connection.
That's exactly right.
You know?
So, in your own opinion, guys, what does Reign of Z bring to the table for music that's not out there as of right now? I mean, I know no one's reinventing the wheel, but what do you guys bring differently to it?
Everything old is new again, like I said. So, I mean, we're kind of, I think the best thing that we can kind of offer in terms of like originality and things like that are just the honesty of Z's lyrics and the things that she talks about, because you don't really hear people talking about what she talks about like on this EP. And if she cares to elaborate a little bit more on it, I think, you know, in terms of like the music can kind of just be whatever. But as long as like what she's singing about is real, I think that will convey.
I mean, I just have to second that with Zach. Like, I by no means will sit here and blow my own horn, because that's not really my thing. But, like, unfortunately, I have, a lot of life experience. And I was actually talking to a good friend the other day, and he's like, you and one other girl are probably the two people that have had the most, like, trauma that I know in their lives. And I think with that, I just want people to take comfort in things that are disturbing, but also know that you can leave it and rally and overcome and manifest things in a positive way. Because I think, I don't know how much you looked into us, but I wear upside down crosses on my face. And a lot of people have taken issue with that. And I always ask people, why does that bother you?
Yeah.
And nobody can really give me an answer. Well, it's sacrilegious. What makes it sacrilegious? What am I doing right now besides wearing a symbol on my face is sacrilegious to you?
Are you talking about it right now? Yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm sparking a conversation, and that's a good thing. And I want to be able to take these experiences, these things, or these symbols, and not so much shove it in people's faces, but spark conversations, because our world in general is so divided, and we overlook so many things. We don't talk about mental illness. We don't talk about addiction. We don't talk about human trafficking. We don't talk about these things. It's always just like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, have a good day. You know?
Yeah, and then they run.
Yeah, and then they run away, running for the hills. And unfortunately, I deal it with people who are very close to me in my life, and I see it on social media all the time. So I'm just trying to bring a story to the table and say, like, hey, this stuff happens. I survived. You can survive, and, you know, let's start a conversation.
But that's the thing about it. People can't sit down and have a human conversation with each other. It's either their way or the highway. That's just it. You know, it's
so true. And I actually had breakfast a week ago with somebody who had a different political view than I did, and I won't go into what party or so on and so forth, but I literally said to him, I said, it's okay that you feel this way. I just want to have a constructive conversation. I want to see where you're coming from. And that's the problem, is people don't take time to listen. They're always just like, I'm right, you're wrong, you know. And, well, yeah, but I'm just simply saying that it's with any of this stuff, nobody just listens. They just want to hammer their point home.
You have the people that want to fit in that little clique, and they have no reason why that they're in that little clique, just because, well, my friend's in it, and she said I should do this.
Exactly. And
why?
Then you're a sheep.
It's like, why?
I actually mentioned that in our second song on the EP. Oh, look at that. Everything comes full circle. I say a lyric where it says the sheep cry out because the isolation is painful. Yeah. You know, and it's so true, because people are not thinking for themselves, which I think is just such a disservice to the individual.
So what made each of you want to become a musician? What was that spark that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
I mean, honestly, music has always been a driving force in me since a young age. My parents have always been really supportive of it. And, yeah, you know, Girls, the Motley Crue video, you know, on MTV back in the day. No, edit that out. No, just a fun lifestyle, man. Like, I mean, like, this is the road life is something that's always spoken to me. I'm a totally different person whenever we're not in our hometown.
Sure.
Yeah, people actually enjoy me.
Sure.
But no, just the camaraderie of, like, getting together with people who all have different views, and coming together and gelling as one to make a product that is enjoyable for people and that can relate with what we're doing, and to get a positive response from people is really heartwarming, to be honest with you.
I would say, in terms of like doing music and everything, I wanted to play guitar since I was a kid. You know, my dad plays guitar, and that was kind of like the spark of it for me. You know, and I didn't really get serious about wanting to play guitar to really put effort in. Like I said, I came up in like the time of like Breaking Benjamin and Seether and stuff like that, and the first time where I was like, I want to do this. I really want to play guitar. I want to make this like my thing. Was actually when I saw the music video for So Cold, and like that song was just so infectious to me, and it was like, just like since then, like I just kind of just put that time into like, how can I be a better songwriter? Like, how do I write a song? Where do I start? And it just kind of took off from there. And like the first like band that I was in, I remember going up and us playing our first show, and my legs were just jelly. And we were playing this local show with 2 or 3 other locals, and like being from West Virginia, like at least around that time, the local scene was just garbage. And one of the bands that was on before us, they were like yelling, they were pissed because like people weren't in to like watch them, because like the band before it just put a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So like nobody was really interested in going back into the venue. And I remember this guy was up on stage freaking out about like, well, we're not going to play till people come in here. And they finally just gave up. And so we were like, screw it. So we went up on stage, we stood up, and we started playing our set. And like, I think we got like halfway through the first song, and everybody came in. And it was just like, at that moment, I was just like, that's a lot of people. Because at the time, it was probably only like 50 people. But like, for like your first performance and everything, 50 people in a small space looks like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So, I was just like, my legs were just like immediately jelly. I was like, oh my God, everybody's watching me kind of thing. But, after that initial kind of like that jelliness, and like they clapped and cheered when the song was over and they wanted more and stuff, it was just like, I just don't think that there's any drug out there that could probably give you that euphoric feeling, that rush that you get from playing a song in front of people. That's
exactly
kind of what
right.
did it for me.
That's exactly right. And speaking of Breaking Benjamin, the Cold song, man, don't it like grab your attention? I mean, it does me. Every time I hear it, it's just like, whoa, that song is so badass.
That's some of his best like lyric writing to me. I mean, I'm kind of known to be critical of like their newer material, but I just think it's because like his lyrics have personally, to me, the lyrics kind of got stale. And the first few, like we were talking about, lyrics being honest and not being shallow and stuff like that. And I think like the first like 3 or 4 albums were his most honest lyrics. And after that, it was just kind of whatever.
I definitely want to say, like, for me, I'm not really good at other things. I don't even know if I'm good at this, but I'm hoping the masses will think I am. I'm not really domestic, and I don't have kids, and I don't really do anything else than like sing and scream and pole dance and crack jokes. So if this doesn't work out, I'm really screwed.
See like how wordy she is. She could have just said stunted and could have covered the entire thing.
Yeah, but I like to paint pictures, but I've been doing this since I was 3. I was my stepfather got me into musical theater modeling, all that stuff at a young age. And, this is the only thing that I have known, and I don't really know how to do anything else. So I'm just really crossing my fingers that this is something that can manifest, because I don't really think I'm made for domestic life, and I'm not married or anything. So this has to work out.
Taco salad.
There you go. I can make a mean taco salad. As good as it gets, kid.
Yeah, as long as somebody browns the meat first.
Yeah, exactly. So we're off to a good start.
I feel sorry for Berg, because by the time he gets done with this band, or even halfway through it, he's going to have to be on blood pressure pills, anxiety pills.
He's already on blood pressure pills.
Oh God, no.
Nah, man, that's hereditary. I'll literally have no hair. My beard will probably start falling out. Between this one over here.
I know, we're a crew, man.
How much local support does Reign of Z get via venues and plus airplay now, guys?
Oh, man.
Well, the first single we put out, Dysmorphia, got picked up at our hometown radio station for their hometown for the holidays, ended up getting like a month and a half of airtime. As for like everything, you know, we have been getting a lot of people give us the respect because everything we put out we've been trying to put everything out top notch, you know, like the best we can. You know, instead of like shoving like we're trying to break the mold of local, you know.
It's actually a suicide term, I feel, at least. A lot of times when there's like branding with the term local, and I'm not discrediting locals because we are still local to where we're from, but our CD release party that we're going to be playing is actually sold out. And somebody made a comment one of my statuses on Facebook, which I thought was very relevant. She said, if you can make people in Pittsburgh believe in you and sell a venue out, you're doing something right. And it's a tough crowd here. I don't think people understand. Like in California, people will just go out because they want to just go out and hear music. Here, you have to hustle and be up people's butts and make them care.
You got to hire them a babysitter, you know.
I mean, getting people to come to shows here is pulling teeth. And I've said this in many interviews. I've caught some flack for it, but I always tell people, if you don't like the response, change the environment.
Yeah, same
Ginger?
here. Same here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's hard to get people to come to shows.
I think the biggest thing too, which is such a bummer, and not to like single a genre out completely, but I just feel like it's relevant. Country music has gotten very shallow too, with like the songwriting and the lyrics and stuff, and people seem to eat it up, and I'm just not really sure like what the secret is or where it comes from, because like I understand that, you know, people want lyrics and things like that they can relate to, but it's kind of like, you really think that like, all these guys worked on farms? I don't think they did. You know, like
It is all a lie.
Yeah.
like some employers that I knew, they went out to, I believe it was a Blake Shelton concert. They got like front row tickets. They were huge fans, and they, you know, he always, you know, sings about like working hard and being from the country and stuff like that. And like they reached their hands up on stage, and he like grabbed their hands and stuff, and she rubbed on his hand, and she was like, "Do you moisturize?" So it's kind of like some people see through like the shallowness of the lyric and how fake it is and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the same point, like, you know, we're trying to make a living doing what we do and doing music, and we love music, and I think it's kind of hard, you know, to be genuine and to like make money, because people will just have started to really fall into line over trends, and I really feel like sometimes consumers don't really expect enough out of their artists, and I think that's why some of the artists that work hard and they put some real time and love into their craft, they don't really get the recognition they should, because their lyrics aren't always easily digestible.
Is there a country that stands out or even shocks you guys that Reign of Z gets support from, or your music even gets played there?
Italy and Holland?
Yeah, Holland.
Wow.
Yeah. They love it over there. We got to go there.
we got some response from Germany, but that doesn't really shock me. It's metal Germany, but Holland was kind of like,
We're like, oh, Holland, okay.
all right,
So we're doing that.
I'll rock some wood shoes on stage. I don't know.
There we go, back to the whips and chains again.
I would
and
pay money
leather.
to see that.
Oh, that's hilarious. Folks, you want to get out and pick up Reign of Z's debut EP, Mirrors and Memoirs, out April 19th. You want to get out and pick this up for sure, guys. How can folks stay in touch with you all, buy some merchandise, tour dates, things like that when this does go down? How can they do that?
www.reignofz.com. Our store is updated. We actually just launched a brand new website. So, you know, if people want to go on, check it out, buy some cool swag, and get our CD, give us some feedback on the site, let us know, and we go from there.
Would you guys care to do a promo for my show?
Sure. We'd love to.
Hey guys, this is Zach from Reign of Z, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
This is Zosha West from Reign of Z, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hi, this is Berg from Reign of Z, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get on and check out our Facebook page. It has our YouTube link, plus our podcast link, and hopefully soon a Twitch link. And also get out and check out Reign of Z. New EP comes out April 19th, Mirrors and Memoirs. So get out and check that out. Thank you guys so much for being on the show this evening. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Man.
We
Thanks
really
for having us.
appreciate it.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.